Beth Green feared her son might die when he started hallucinating and fell unconscious after drinking an iced slushy late last year.
Yes, the family were told 4-year-old Albie had suffered from likely glycerol intolerance, as the additive in the drinks isn't recommended for youngsters. Well, this morning the Food Standard Agency is urgently reminding retailers to stop selling iced slushies containing glycerol to children 4 and under. Well, we asked parents if they knew of the potential harm.
To be honest, no, I wasn't aware. I try not to give them to him, but obviously when he sees them in the shops, he does really always want one, so it's hard to say no.
No, I had no idea at all.
Idea. I should have an age limit on, at least.
Yeah, the age limited like energy drinks.
I didn't know that, no. If they're going to make the kids poorly, I don't think they should be given at all. Like, now I know that, I won't give my daughter anymore.
I didn't know. Oh, yeah, I think there should be clearer warnings to the side effects, possibly, yeah.
Well, we're joined now by Albie, by his mum, Beth Green, and Chief Scientific Advisor of the Food Standards Agency, Professor Robin May. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for coming in. Albie, it's good to see you here in the studio looking so well. Thank you for coming in to see us this morning. Beth, let me start by asking you what happened on that day?
So it was just a typical sort of Friday after school. We decided to take him and his friend for a little treat, didn't we? And sort of within half an hour, 45 minutes of having one, he was quite agitated, sort of say mardy, not sort of being his typical self. So we decided that we were going to go and get some dinner, which McDonald's was just directly next door. So, and what kid doesn't love a McDonald's? So we thought that would sort of pick up his mood. But again, he was just still quite sort of not well.
And that's a bad sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not even that has helped.
This is it. So once we sort of did all that and we were taking his friend home, it's when we sort of become a little bit more alarmed about how he was behaving and what was going on. So we dropped his friend at home and we called his dad's mum. And then she sort of, as she has a medical opinion, she said, no, just take him to A&E. It's a Friday, doctors are closed, just might be a bit of an infection. And then sort of as soon as we got off the phone, he started hallucinating, scratching himself, biting himself. It was just awful, really.
And then you got to A&E?
Yeah, so we got to A&E and he was just a dead weight. He wasn't conscious. They sort of pushed all the emergency buzzers. We ran straight through into the children's department.
So it must have been terrifying.
Yeah, this is it. It was, honestly, it was the most heartbreaking thing that I've ever had to do with him. He's normally otherwise a very healthy, sort of happy, energetic little boy, and seeing him sort of lifeless on a bed, it was
We've
awful.
been chatting away and he's been quite unusual. Professor May, the Chief Scientific Advisor at the Food Standards Agency, just explain to us and to our viewers. I mean, I think I always thought as a parent that the thing might be with these slushies, these bright colours, the E numbers, but that is not the problem, is it? What was the particular problem here and how and why did it happen?
So you're right, the problem here is not the colours, it's the glycerol that's put into slushies, and it's put in to keep them slushy, essentially. It stops them from freezing, otherwise Albie would have had an ice lolly and not a slushie. And at low dose, that's not a problem, but the issue is if you consume a lot of glycerol fast, particularly if you're relatively small, so if you're a small child, that can lead water to rush into your blood vessels, essentially, to compensate, and you get symptoms like the ones you've just described. And for anyone who's been, for example, dehydrated, you'll remember that feeling of dizziness and nausea and sometimes even passing out. It's a very similar experience if you have a high volume of glycerol very fast.
So what's the warning then for parents watching? You know, what age should and shouldn't children have these? So
it's fantastic that Beth and Albie are here today to help us kind of get this message out, because we have issued very clear guidance, and the more people that hear it, the better. So the guidance is if you're 4 and under, you should not be consuming these drinks at all. And if you're under 10, you should not be served free refills. So you should have one, but not multiple ones. And that's essentially all about body size. The bigger you are, the more glycerol you can take. So the smaller you are, the more cautious you should be.
And explain to us, why wouldn't you just say, let's ban the glycerol being used at all or in these kind of drinks? Because if it's dangerous, why shouldn't we be protected without parents having to take the responsibility of deciding whether it's safe for their children? Are they, because, if you've got 2 kids, aged 6 and 3, it's quite hard to say you can have one and you can't. So Why can't you just stop it?
Yeah, and I totally understand that argument. As a parent myself, I well remember the kind of horror that goes through your mind when something bad happens to your child. But I think it's really important to put this into proportion. So in the UK, there are about 50,000 slushy drinks, 50 million slushy drinks sold per year. And we're aware of 5 cases like Albie's over the last 3 years. So it is still, and just to reassure parents, it is still a very, very rare side effect. However, because it can happen, that is why we are asking all businesses to clearly mark their products as not suitable for 4 and under, and very importantly, to make sure people throughout the business chain understand that. So it's no good just having a letter at head office that says this. It needs to be marked on the machines. The people selling the drinks need to be aware. And of course, as parents, all of us, the more that we get this message, the safer everyone will be.
Because not all brands, not all types of the slushy contain the glycerol, do they? And in the sort of environment where they're sold, I imagine it's sometimes hard to see an ingredients list to work out which one does, which one doesn't. Does there need to be more clarity on that?
That's right. It's not necessarily in all drinks, although many of them do have glycerol. But of course, these are drinks that are not typically sold with an ingredient list. You normally go to a machine, and I guess that's how you had it as well.
Yeah.
And so you don't sort of stop and read the ingredients list. And to be honest, even if you do have an ingredient list, how often do we stop in our supermarket and read the entire list?
I think in Beth's case, there was a sign, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But did you see it?
No.
Did you even know to look?
No, because it was right down the other way of the bar. The food agency did go and sort of have a look, and they said that wasn't sort of fitting in with how they would like it, and it wasn't signposted to it. It wasn't advertised anywhere. Obviously, at this point, it had only been in the news sort of in August, but again, I didn't see it. I'd missed it, so I wasn't aware.
What message would you like to put across now to parents about being careful about this, about being vigilant about when they should and shouldn't let their children have them?
So I just think, looking at the situation, there needs to be signs, because as a parent, you look at things, and I seen it as sugar-free, and personally at the minute, everything without sugar, it seems a little bit better for them, where because it didn't have sugar, it had the more glycerol added to either make it look more like a slushy or to increase the flavour. So sort of it's benefiting those two. So if it was signposted correctly, or if the staff there actually said, how old is your child? Question sort of, is he right to have it? Obviously then we wouldn't have been in this situation.
And we've got to ask Albie, are you going to school yet? What's your school called?
Nuneaton.
And what's your teacher's name?
Mrs. Dickinson and Mrs. Doty.
Oh.
And do you like to have school lunches or packed lunches?
Packed lunches.
Packed lunches. But do you normally have packed lunches or school lunches?
School lunches.
Oh, I see. So your mum is still saying have a school lunch. Do you have fish and chips on Friday?
Yeah.
What with?
Beans.
Peas. Fish, chips and peas. So do you beans or peas? Peas.
Beans.
Beans. You said to me peas before we came on. You've now changed it.
You changed it. Oh.
Do you like to eat vegetables and healthy food?
Or have you got your eye on those slushies, or will you not be having any slushies now?
No. Does your mum do a good job of looking after you? Does she? That's really
It's
good.
great to see you looking so well this morning, Albie. Thank you very much for coming in to chat to us. Thanks also to
Very
you,
good.
Beth, and thank you for just explaining all the
Very
health
good to
side of
me.
things as well.
Boom.
Thank you all. One to watch out for, isn't it? That I think a lot of parents wouldn't have been aware of, actually.
I mean, it's brilliant you coming on the programme and telling people, because we wouldn't know, and we wouldn't know without Professor May, but, it could make a real difference to some people. So thank you very much for doing that. Good job, Albie.